Hello everyone, and welcome back to this Illustrator Basics tutorial. Today we will be going over the Shape Builder tool. Make sure you have open your 5shapebuildertool.ai file and then your 5shapebuildertool2.ai file. You'll notice that those two are pretty much the exact same. Well, they are the exact same. We're just going to be using each one for a different purpose today. And then make sure you also opened up your classfiles1.ai, the one that we've been working on. So what is the Shape Builder tool? Well, it's right here. You might not see it. It might be one of these other options for the tools that you might have. But if you see either one of those, just click and hover over to the Shape Builder tool and release, or press Shift-M to select it. Now the Shape Builder tool takes different shapes and adds them together. So I'm going to hold down Control, and I'm just going to move this down to here while holding down Control, select them both. Now it's highlighting different parts of the circle and triangle. Now if I go ahead and click and drag over both of them, it combines them all together, and it kind of changed the fill on me. So I'm going to go ahead and reselect that and add that back in, which I'll get into in a little bit on how to use this to color things. Now you see it combined them together. So if I deselect it by holding Control and clicking it off and then going back over and selecting it, I can move that around as if it were just one object, because now it is just one object. Now the pathing is around this. So I'm going to press Control Z until I've unjoined them, so to speak. Now it can also subtract parts of an object away. So if I hold down Alt, it brings up a little minus sign there next to the Shape Builder tool point. And I click here, it subtracts that part from both of these shapes. So if I press V to bring up the selection tool, I can, and click away and deselect them, I can now move this part of the triangle and this part of the circle separately. So let's go ahead and make a Pac-Man using the deletion part of the Shape Builder tool. Change the color of that triangle to something that we can see before we start moving it. Nice teal color would look good. And we'll move it to there. So we'll press Shift-M to change to our Shape Builder tool. Press and hold Control to select all of these. And now you can hold Alt to delete that part away, and then go ahead and hold it to delete that as well. And now you have a basic Pac-Man shape. So let's make one of Pac-Man's nemesis, a ghost. Press V to bring up the selection tool. I'm going to move that over just a little bit. And I'm going to move this triangle just in line there. Press A to bring up the direct selection tool. Click this part of the triangle once, and then click and drag it down to round that out a little bit. Press V to bring up the selection tool again. Hold Alt and drag that over. And release, and hold Alt again and drag that over and release. So you see now we've kind of created the bottom of the ghost there. Now we need to make the top rounded a little bit, so I'm just going to click this corner here, hold Shift and click this corner here, and now just drag and round those tops in. So now we have Pac-Man's nemesis, a ghost, but we need to join it together. So let's click and drag to select the elements of the ghost, and then press Shift-M to bring up the selection tool. Then we will just click and drag through all the parts that we want to join together. Make sure you get those little parts there where they overlap. So let's zoom in down there so we can see better. You can see that those aren't selected there. So if I wanted to, I could press Alt and cut those parts out, but I don't want to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and just drag through that to make sure I capture those parts. So press Control 0, go back out. Now we have our ghost and our Pac-Man. Now you could pause that and mess around with the Shape Builder tool. And once you're ready, unpause the video, and we're heading on over to 5 Shape Builder Tool 2. Let's take the selection tool. Let's make this a different color, just so we can see what we're working with. And let's go ahead and make a couple copies of that. And we're going to go ahead and make them a different color. You can make each one a different color. It's up to you. So I'm going to take this triangle, move it here, and I'm actually going to enlarge it a little bit, and then I'm going to move a couple of these triangles inside like that. So I'm going to work with this one first. So click and drag to select it. Bring up the Shape Builder tool, and I'm just going to pick a random color and then come over here and work with this. As you can see, it selects different parts of this triangle and circle. So I could change this, just that part, to brown. Press V to bring up the selection tool, deselect it all, and I'm going to move that triangle away. And you can see I colored this part of the circle brown. I can actually move that around, essentially cut it off from the circle and change the fill color. So let's move that back, bring up our selection tool. Let's bring a different color into this. How about a gray for this one? Oh, didn't select it all, so holding down Control to bring up the selection tool, capturing it all, and now I can make that gray and this one blue, like that. So let's go ahead and do that with this, the square and triangles. So I'm going to press Control to bring up the selection, press and hold Control to bring up the selection tool, deselect that by clicking off here in the background, and then clicking and dragging to select. I'm going to then release it, which brings back up our shape builder tool, and I'm just going to color just this part. And then pick a different color, change the color of the whole thing, which didn't change the color of this since it's been cut off from the different triangle. We'll change the tip of this triangle to green. As you can see, the shape builder tool does provide a lot of different utility here. So go ahead and play around with that for a little bit. You can pause the video here if you want to. Once you're ready, unpause the video and we'll go over to class file 1. So I want to make this moon a crescent shape. How am I going to do that? Well, I'm going to press V to bring up the selection tool. Hold down Alt and click and drag away so that I make a copy of the moon. I'm going to then make this have no fill and a green stroke. And I'm going to increase the stroke just a little bit. Move this back over to partially cover the moon. And then I'm going to select it all by holding down Shift and clicking the moon background and one of the moon craters that we grouped together before. Now I'm going to press Shift M to bring up our selection tool and then press and hold Alt. And it's going to cut away that portion, and then I can cut away the different portions of the craters here. Cut that away. Let's go ahead and zoom in by holding Alt and scrolling. Help if I press and hold Alt to cut those away. And sometimes you need to go over things a few times, and sometimes you forget to hold Alt like I just did. So press Control 0 to back out. And you see we press V to go to your selection tool. You can see we made a crescent moon. Now let's change the scene to daytime. So I'm going to click and drag and select all of that, and then hold Shift, select these stars that I missed. Press Control G to group them together. Range, send to back. I'm going to go to my layers panel here, add a new layer, move layer 3 below layer 1. I'm going to select that background that we grouped together, grab the dot here, pull it down so it's on layer 3. I'm going to turn it off. I'm going to go back up to layer 1, select the rectangle tool, make a new rectangle. The properties tool. Now let's give it a nice light blue. I want something maybe a little lighter than that. Right about there. That's good. We're going to send that to the back like so. Then we'll select the ellipse tool, make a sun. Big old sun like that. Make that yellow. Go over to your line segment tool. And we're just going to make a line there, give it a black stroke. I'm going to make the stroke just a little thicker so we can see it. Press V to bring up your selection tool, select that black stroke, hold Alt, drag it over so that you can drag like that. Press Control 0 so we're recentered. So now that I've got these lines drawn here, Let's go ahead and select this background because I'm going to need that to be a lighter color. And the same with the house. We're going to need that to be a lighter color. And the windows, just so we can sell this effect that it's during the day and this is casting a shadow. So the windows, we'll make those a lighter color. And finally, the door. And I think the emu comes off light enough. So let's go ahead and select everything. Press this shape builder tool. And we're going to go ahead and just select a darker green down here. And just color that. And then press V to go back to our selection tool. And you can see it does change the color and it kind of looks like it's casting a shadow. But we have these overhanging strokes down here from the line segment tool and also strokes going around, but we don't want that. So let's go ahead, pull back up, select these again, go back to the shape builder tool, hold down Alt and that'll delete those. Press V to go back to the selection tool and we'll start removing the stroke. From these objects. Now you can see we have a more seamless shadow being cast here. Now there is something to note when you've got to be careful when using the selection tool to color things. So let's go ahead and select this all again and then bring up the selection tool and let's just change the color of right there. So I'm just going to change it to a random color, purple. We'll change that color and go back to the selection tool by either pressing V or going up and clicking it. And now let's deselect everything and just select this. You can see it took that neck of our emu with it. So you just have to be careful when coloring things that you're not drastically changing the shape of some of the things that you've built. Well, that's all we have today. Go ahead and, if you followed me along, go ahead and press Ctrl Z to undo that. Make sure you save your file by pressing Ctrl S or going up to File Save. If you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you don't miss any future videos. And thanks for watching.